Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name. So, currently right now, if we go into the events, Universal Derivation is going on. This is a super cool event. It's probably my favorite game mode in the entire game. But basically, this is putting people's entire accounts to the test. If you have made 6 really powerful characters, you are not going to be able to clear this, not because your characters aren't strong enough to clear the levels, but because you're not going to get enough refreshes to use them for everything. So this is a game mode that highly it rewards players that have a well-rounded account, because you could use a lot. So I figured, as someone that has used a lot of lower rarity units, I mean, I've probably used them more than literally anyone else that you've seen play the game on video. Maybe not, I don't know, but that's definitely the vibe I get. I'm going to go over the lower rank units that are lower rarity units that are good and universal derivation. And I have it broken out into categories depending on what you need. So I have it broken out by tank. Infect damage is its own separate thing. I think it's worth talking about. Control, healer, and damage. Like, you could probably add debuff or whatever. I kind of have control and debuff. The thing is, there's not a lot of good options for certain things like controlling elements at the lower rarities. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of get these categories, and I'll give you a cheat sheet here near the end because I wrote them all down. About the units that you should be, this is way if you're struggling because you just don't have enough units and you don't want to raise every single lower level unit. You can take a look at what you need. Like, oh, I need a high damage unit because I don't have enough damage dealers. Then you could pick out one of these characters, or if you just need another tank because you only have Coco and you don't have any other tanks in your account, you probably have a lower level rarity unit here. So without further ado, 2 minutes into the video, let us jump into it. We're going to start with the tanks. So the very first tank here is Suppression. You probably already know. I just made a video on him a day or two ago. So if you want a more full breakdown, I would go check that out. But this is just a very powerful tank. He also is a little bit of a damage dealer. Not really, but a little bit. He does damage based off his magic defense. But really, what makes him so good is he has this insane skill called Devout Guard. It allows him to self-heal, self-buff, jump in front of characters, and deal damage. It does everything you want a tank to do. And it is 3 energy, so even with Flagellant, it's not going to be up constantly every turn, but it lasts for 2 turns, right? So it will be up constantly, but he won't be able to heal himself every single turn without a little bit of support. However, it's very, 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 very strong. He's a very tanky character that preemptively attacks, that also heals himself, that also buffs himself, and even boosts his own energy regeneration and gives himself more stacking damage down. So very, very good unit. Suppression is absolutely worth your time. The other one you just heard me talk about is Recruited Guard. Now, this character is just, I think, tankier than Suppression. Suppression is an all-in-one package. He deals a little bit of damage, he self-heals, he self-buffs. This character forgoes all of that for just tankiness. This character, they're just going to jump in front of people, and they're going to tank hits, and they're going to live. Like, a breaker will still kill them, right? A really high-level breaker will still be able to kill them just because the type advantage is pretty strong in this game. But if it's not a breaker, he's going to be able to tank everything for days. You will need someone that could heal him. You will need, probably, he could generate shields, but he can't really heal himself. You might want a little bit of energy support as well, but if you need to keep your team alive, this guy will do it for you. He also does have a little bit of control here, in the sense that every once in a while, maybe if you're winning a fight or you don't need him to tank, he could stun someone. Not much damage. Stun is still pretty good, though. Next up is the Infect category. So basically, there's a lot of characters with skills such as Outlaw Assassin. Well, they'll have like Luxite Shrapnel, right? Deals piercing damage equal to 10% of the target's HP to all enemies, and then inflicts infection. So infection is not... there is a little bit of resistance to it in the UD mode. I think they always have the 50%. I'm pretty sure it's always 50%, right? Yeah, 50% of percent damage taken. So it's still going to be weaker, but I'm telling you, if you get like 9 stacks on them, it's still gonna drain them away very quickly. You're not just going to like, it's not like they're immune to it, right? There are some stats situations where it is not good, but when it is good, it is very good. So what are the units that have it that I think are probably going to be the best here? So the first one that I like a lot is Voldaren Scout, because he's insanely mobile. Like the most mobile character in the game, potentially. Well, not literally in the game, but 5 movement. But then they get a bonus movement here if they're unharmed. It comes with jump and climb built in. And then he can move again after attacking. So a very mobile unit. Now their damage isn't crazy, although they do have a really cool basic attack that attacks twice. Is that cool? I mean, it helps get through dodge and stuff, so it is kind of cool. But he has the Luxite Shrapnel, which is very powerful. And then I personally use the extra movement and the ability to move afterwards. And basically he could throw this and then run away. The enemy isn't going to catch him, right? And so this is going to be very good specifically for applying infection every couple turns. Infection works better the more you have. That way you can keep it at high stacks, but honestly, just a great unit. You have to play careful. You don't want him to be in danger because he will just die. You want him to be further away. The other one here is Stinger here. So Stinger, I think is good, is because they're a little bit of a hybrid. They're not all in on the infection strategy, but they're still good at it. One, it's good being able to start to execute characters when they're low on life. However, if you're not using the Hangman's Mark stuff, he also just has a ranged attack that does 3 stacks of infection. He also has the Luxite Shrapnel, so we can keep the infection up more consistently, right? Instead of having to wait 3 turns, you know, it's like he could do 3 stacks of infection, do another 3 stacks of infection, and then just have to wait a turn to get his one of the abilities back. But also what makes him good is, in addition to he applies his own Hangman's Mark, he gets to execute him. He also has a built-in dodge, which is pretty good. It's not great, but this can make it so he can tank a hit, where the Voldaren Scout can never tank a hit ever. This character can tank a hit. If you go up and hit something, get the dodge, they're only going to attack you once. You could tank this for quite a while, because if they never attack you more than once, you'll always dodge. So very, very good unit for a lot of reasons, but kind of just does a little bit of everything. They're one of my first choices if I really want to get a Luxite Shrapnel, because they bring a lot more than that to the table. Quick honorable mention for the tank as well. If you're not going to go for straight tanking, Blade is a very good dodge tank, where they get 2 dodge for 2 energy. So every turn they can give themselves 2 dodge. So if you're not getting hit more than twice, you could just keep dodge, 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 as long as you get enough energy. And he even has a second support here where you can be more offensive. You could dodge, and then when you do dodge, you teleport, you attack them, then you dodge again. So he has 2 different ways to get a bunch of dodge, which is pretty cool. I'm not a Blade enjoyer for the most part, but when fancy footwork is good, then Blade is very good. Next up is the control category. These are characters that bring not direct damage, healing, that kind of stuff. And so the one, well, you know what? We'll save my favorite for last. But first up is Bob here. He is a, what is it? The PayPal Ice Priest, I think is his actual name. This character just kind of does a lot. Insanely fast, but also being able to drop down a bunch of ice, just be able to put a bunch of ice tiles down, that slows speed, slows movement, and it's hard for characters to move over ice. Being able to set plants of ice, so it's hard for them to get to you. Then he also has the Icy Blast, which is a giant cone of cold that knocks a 2x3 area back, the first character in a 2x3 area, back 2 tiles. Enemies might have whatever thousands defense and whatever tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of HP. Most of them can still be knocked off edges into ravines. So if you're on a map where you can knock things off, then this character will be your best friend. Also, you got to remember, you can use ice to extend the reach of your push. It comes up very rarely out in the game anymore, but it is something that is relevant. If you put ice tiles down, like there's 2 ice tiles behind a character and you push them, if you push them 1 tile, they'll push through all the ice. That doesn't count as consuming a push movement. So you can actually push people really far, much further than the AI thinks, I guess, because you could do some good stuff there. But let's not dwell. We're spending too much time. Next up is Nightingale. Nightingale is just, again, a unit with a lot of versatility here. She does not have the infection like the previous characters, but she has something even better, arguably. The Burning Grenade. This does less damage directly. It's 10% the same, but this creates burning tiles. This is important. If an attack says it does fire damage, that means it'll set burnable tiles on fire. However, this is not a fire damage attack. This is a burning attack. This will set the tiles on fire regardless if they're normally able to burn or not. And fire is very good. One, it's got a pretty good range and it hits in a full big square. This not only deals damage, it scorches them, right? They're instantly scorched, which is, again, percent-based damage on top of percent-based damage. Every tile they move in fire consumes an extra movement. So if they only have 3 movement, they're only going to be able to move, I think it's 1.5 movement. So they can only move 2 tiles instead of 3 tiles. Or if you lower their movement to 2, they can only move 1 tile a turn. I've had it so they can't move any tiles. They're in fire, they just have to stand there. But this is very good. And then when they do move, each time they move, it reapplies Scorch and they take percent-based damage. Burning Grenade, very powerful. But that's not all why she's good. She also has Weapon Eroder for the other turns, where if you don't want to just keep Burning Grenade up all the time. Very powerful ability. Does piercing damage equal to 30%. Again, they're resistant to it, so most of the time it's going to be 15%, but that's still pretty good for just like a supporty control, and it lowers their attack. But really, maybe the best thing, maybe the Burning Grenade, is Tranquilizer. Instant effect, sleep. So once you get a decent amount of energy, like actually you only need 3. On turn 1, you could start tranquilizing somebody, throwing a Burning Grenade at someone else. Tranquilize will let you basically keep someone permanently asleep, because it's only 2 turns with a 3-turn cooldown, but you can equip the World and have her stand by, and then on every 3rd turn or every 2nd turn or whatever, she'll get the Tranquilizer and the Burning Grenade back up. Very, very powerful control character, just brings a lot. She's not really a healer, even though she looks like a healer. Her healing kind of sucks. And finally, my favorite, Shadow's Den Gaming, Outlaw Archer, is a great character to help control the battlefield. They just always are helpful in every single map, always. The Luxite Shrapnel ensures that he always gets to do a decent amount of damage. After attacking, you can have him inflict physical defense down, right? So now he could drop someone's defense by 40%. As a purely support. He could just do pure AoE piercing damage. He also has a chance, you can make it so he has a chance to lower their attack. So you could just make him an auto attacker where he has a 50% chance to lower both their attack and physical defense. He also has the place trap. This doesn't say that much in the ability, but for 1 energy, you get to put a trap down. You could even use a rewind to abuse this. You could see where an enemy moves, do 1 rewind, and then put a trap down where you know they're going to walk. And when they hit this trap, it ends their turn. It interrupts their turn. And they take some damage, but more importantly, this is a 1 mana cost, and it takes away someone's turn. That is very powerful. Not to mention foot sniping. There are many characters in the game that are just melee focused, and they don't have a lot of skills for the enemies. And this, when you give them move down 2, they just literally can't catch them. This has a range of 4 with a move down of 2, and it's an okay damage. He doesn't really deal damage, to be honest. That's not really his main goal. But just, I'm telling you, every single map in the entire game, this character has felt good to have. The trap is good. When for some reason I don't want the trap, the lowering defense is good. The AoE infection is good. The lowering movement speed is good. He has a 70% chance whenever he deals damage to just give random debuffs. It's like everything this character does is good. This is a common bronze unit, and I think it's genuinely like a very good unit to use almost all the time. My favorite of what I would consider the control. So when we get to healers, there's really not any options. Like the healing options are very minor. I don't recommend things like Flare Butterfly. Okay, let's just talk, instead of what I don't recommend, let's talk about what I do recommend. Angel, simple, right? Angel is just very, 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 this is my attack damage Angel, by the way. She's got the really good skill, heals everyone, in a 3-tile radius, 2-tile radius by 60% of her magic attack, removes a debuff, also gives everyone 3 level 1 buffs. So when she heals them, she gets buffs. She gets the ability to give herself 2 energy a turn, so she could heal forever every turn. All she does is she heals every turn, gives everyone buffs. And she's very good at it. Probably to this day, the best dedicated healer in the game. There are other characters that could heal, like Coco, that do a lot more. But when it comes to consistently healing every turn, Angel is probably still the best. The other healer I would recommend is Bitterwort here. Bitterwort doesn't heal quite as good in an AoE, but her single target is better, and she gets to heal preemptively. She gets to grant Bitterwort to all the characters, and so when your ally, when you have Bitterwort, if you're about to die, you will recover HP when you get into the dying state. So she can kind of preemptively heal, which makes up for the AoE healing a little bit. And then she's great at healing tanks, you know, because she heals them and then gives them Bitterwort. But what's really good is Can't Give Up is a fucking badass heal. Heals all allies within 3 tiles, 60% of her magic attack, and gives them attack up 2, and gives them regeneration 2, and gives 2 of them Bitterwort. This is a very strong heal. It does a lot for 1 action. And beyond that, she also has Inner Light, which is an instant speed, give 1 energy to a huge group of your allies. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, but like whatever. Being able to get a little bit of energy regeneration is something that Angel cannot do. So like this character may not heal quite as good as Angel, but Angel never gives attack up 2, never gives regeneration 2, never gives Bitterwort, and never gives the instant energy regen. So it's kind of who you want there, but they're both very, very solid options. Now, damage. This is where this is not usually where you want to go for damage. Lower rarity, the one thing that, so almost every character here has a very good specific use that they excel at, that they're very good at. You know, even Darklight Ice Priest has the ability to straight up freeze people, right? Like, very good stuff. Valden Scout is like the most mobile character in the game and has the Luxite Shrapnel to like basically kill any target. You know, KA Guard can self-resurrect once with his thing. So there's like lots of like really cool, unique things. And I think it's you know what? Let's pull out one more. Flame Sorceress has an AoE movement buff for the whole squad, I think it is. Does she have that? Am I crazy? Is that KA? There it is. Wind. Yeah, she can give everyone move too, and immunity to move down. So like all these characters have very special traits, right? But what none of them do incredibly well for the most part is damage. Or they do, but they're outclassed. Like Crimson Falcon does good damage, but like Cole just does more, right? The legends just do more damage on average. That's kind of what sells, right? People like big damage numbers. So typically I would try to spread out your damage dealers up here in different maps, not trying to use them all at once, but that's not saying there aren't characters that could deal good damage. However, they're primarily going to be in gold. There's not that much down here that's super good. I can give a few honorable mentions, but let's just go with the ones that I think are great for damage. First, we'll do damage, and we'll do AoE damage. Night Raven. Night Raven is single target damage, and I would say this is the closest tied with the other unit I'm going to suggest for being a powerhouse in terms of damage. Long story short, at 5 stars, attacks increase by 20%. And then when attacking a character with the Hangman's Mark, you get an additional 30% damage. Also has the ability, if they have the Hangman's Mark, to do the execution. Also just has a great like way to heal themselves. Now, this is an incredibly energy hungry character though. You're not going to get consistent damage over turns. But you will be able to, if you have a little bit of energy support and you only have to take like 1 turn off from your expensive skills, you can get a lot of damage over a couple turns. But the single targets are insane. She has Darkest Annihilation. This is a insane skill. Single target attack deals 180% damage. That's one of the biggest modifiers in the entire game. Not literally. I think Fire Sorceress has a 200% modifier. When I know where she's at. Okay. She has a 200%. If they're scorching, but she doesn't have all the other shit of getting the 30% bonus damage and yada yada blah blah. Plus, maybe it's not quite as high, but you know what it does have? It also comes with armor piercing, so it ignores defense. Some of these stats on these units are so high on the enemy units. So having 40% ignoring armor makes this number way bigger than it actually is. It's expensive. Darkest Annihilation, though, is fucking sick. And if you need to be able to deal single target damage, there's almost no one better. And the only character I would say compares is going to be Divine Grace. Divine Grace has a very similar thing, 15% damage. And when they deal an additional 35% damage when they have 3 or more buffs. I'm telling you, as the game is aged, getting 3 buffs is like automatic. It's hard to not have 3 buffs. If you have a Gloria on your team, and you have like her flag is a buff, you know, if you have an aura effect, I don't know if those count as buffs, if I'm being completely honest, but they show up on the buff and debuff screen. So I guess I would have to do some testing to see what actually constitutes as a buff. But either way, it's pretty easy to get buffed. So big damage increases. Also just has a this character is much more solid at dealing damage turn after turn after turn, because this isn't 4 energy, this is 2. Does 135% damage, it's good. You can also do 160% damage every turn. Not every turn with a 3-turn cooldown, but the assisting attacks. 4 tiles, 80% damage, can activate twice per round. You need someone that can help you do that, but you throw an arm guard on someone, boom, you get it. Also has the protected. If he has no debuffs but has 3 buffs, he gets another 15% bonus attack. So just really high stats, really high damage, great single target damage dealer. Doesn't really have anything in the AoE category, but also one I don't have is the storm sniping. I don't know why I got the fucking crit command. This is also great. 120% damage, and it gives you extra 10% damage for every tile they are away. For each tile between the characters. So you're going to get an extra 40% damage here. So it's actually, what, 160%? So another great hit. Even Flaming Shot is honestly good. This is 120%. Just great damage in general. Good unit. I do want to give an honorable mention to the single target damage dealers. They're all gold. Like there's several here that are reasonable, right? I mean, Tempest is reasonable too. I wouldn't recommend Tempest for like purely for your damage dealer, but Ballista is definitely, I think, an honorable mention, probably worthy of the spot as well. Mostly because they get a passive that their basic attack ignores 40% of the target's defense. They also get, after they attack, they lower defense by 40%. So they are just pretending like the enemy has no defense pretty much all the time. And they even get like a really cool shield break thing, but you could basically just do the basic attack build, you know? In fact, it might even be better just to do the 110% here. Siege is kind of a meme, I feel like. But he's got just some overall pretty great stuff. And honestly, being a basic attack ignoring 40% of defense combined with shredding defense is very good for single target, but it's not quite the highest damage numbers, which is why I didn't include it in part of the first 2. Now, when it comes to AoE damage, I think everyone knows where I'm going. The very first one you got to talk about is Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker is built to do area of effect damage. Now, ironically, it's not the biggest area of effect. You could get, and I got the more single target focused, you know, it's only 2 squares. You can get the bigger ones that do big area of effects. These are pretty good, but I just liked having, I don't know, I liked having a more higher damage, more focused ability, although it's not that much higher damage. I mean, this is only 60%, but Tiger Charge is very good. But her passive right here, right? 25% more AoE damage. And when defeating any target, you basically get to do an additional AoE attack. So she's like a Beyblade. She just spins. Great for dealing damage to multiple characters. Now, she is melee, so she has to be in there. So she might need a little bit of support because she's not incredibly tanky. They give her a little bit. But if she gets attacked, she'll do a strike back, dealing good damage. When she kills something, she does something. Every time she just attacks normally, she does a 20% AoE attack. And then, again, she has this 90% AoE damage, turns off their healing. Very good ability. I personally think Stormbreaker is great when you need to deal some non-direct damage and some AoE. I've been very, very happy. Quick honorable mention to Lightning here. This isn't the other character I wanted to talk about, but a 3x4 hit. It doesn't do that much damage, but it absolutely... because it only has an energy cost with no cooldown, if you have some energy support, you could do Lightning's move essentially every turn. And it is pretty powerful. Lightning is a very cool character as well. But who I really wanted to talk about was Lash. Lash is, I think, probably the queen of doing AoE damage until you get to the higher rarities. I mean, she's got this the Whip of Blame deals 5 tiles straight ahead. So very easy to get 2, sometimes 3 characters here. And then it hits twice. It hits once for 60%, then it hits once for 30% piercing damage. Piercing is just, it ignores their physical and magical defense. But whenever she attacks, she additionally deals 30% piercing damage. So what this does, it does 60% damage based off her magic attack, then 30% piercing, then 30% piercing, and then 30% piercing. So it does 90% piercing and 60% damage. So it does 150% damage, but 90% of it is piercing, which is higher than what it would look like because it's ignoring defense altogether. So pretty good AoE attack. Also, you could just load her up with different AoEs. She also gets Dark Withering, which inflicts life loss equal to 50% of magic attack to all enemies within 2 tiles of the target and reduces their healing. But what's important about Dark Withering and Dark Ripple, which Dark Ripple is great as well, turns off passive skills and reaction skills at 70% AoE. These will also trigger that 30% AoE. So you're doing the decent, consistent, powerful AoE attacks, and you're doing piercing damage on top of it. Like, I think you could make a case that Abyss could do something similar, but Abyss is a little bit less damage, and a little bit more doing debuffs, so that could be good for you. But I mean, I could talk about every one of these characters, but I think I wanted to highlight Lash here. I think Lash is a character I've invested a lot in, level 60, rank 12, 5 hearts, and I have never been let down by Lash. Lash has been very strong on my account, basically forever. Her piercing damage means she is never irrelevant, because even her normal basic attack is 60% piercing, but that means 90% piercing, because she does an additional 30% afterwards. She gets to use weapons that not many other characters are super good with, because this increases piercing damage, right, and magical damage. So actually, her Whip of Blame will get the effect from both of those. Very good character, and I love her. But that is all for this one, guys. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Let me know what you thought. Are there any other characters you think I'm overlooking in any of these categories? Characters that you should focus on that I didn't mention? I think I could just go off and give a whole breakdown of every character, why they're useful, but I wanted to try to give a little bit of focus to about 10 characters that you might want to consider leveling if you haven't invested in them at all. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. Much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! On the rise, watch the views go.